So, you have an old table. It's not doing too well. It's seen better days. It's wood. It's falling apart. What do? You restore it. Here's what I'm working with. This is the old outdoor table. As you see, a little warped here, missing part of the top there, and some of the wood's gotten eaten away over on that end. My grandfather actually built this table. He may have one like it. It won't be just like it, but nonetheless, here's what we're gonna do. Gonna fix it all up. First things first, gotta get this old wood off of here. Wrenches, pliers, should get the job done. Well, I tried, but it didn't go very well. With the kind of bolts they used here, just that smooth surface, smooth top, and underneath it's rusted so much that it's just spinning and I can't get a good hold of that. So, gonna have to demo it, cut it off, see if we can get it from there. But first, time to get some wood. Just go down to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, wherever. I went with 2x4s, just a little more hardy, should last longer. Got fancy with the camera there, you know? Looking good. All right, got my tools, got the wood sitting over there. Let's see if this works. This part's very simple. You just cut it off. I used the same blade for the wood as I did for the screws, and they came right out. There she is, just the frame. Now, time to clean it up. Probably tell there, it's seen cleaner days. I was gonna use a wire wheel on my drill, but can't find it. So, got some rags, got some wire brushes, let's make it happen. For this part, you just got to clean it up, make sure it's smooth so that way when the new paint goes on, it'll stick and it will last. You could power wash it, you could just use a wire brush like I did, but get the dirt off, get the flaky parts off, and it'll be good. Got some Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover, paint and primer. Oh yeah, so fancy. Basic stuff. Let's see if it does the trick. You know how to paint. Just do even strokes, go back over the spots that you missed, make sure you get full coverage. So now I'm gonna let that dry for a bit as we take on the top. Got the seats over there, 2x6s over here, 2x10s over here. Let's start getting the wood ready. Time for some sanding. I used 220 on my electric sander here, orbital sander, and just smooth everything out. Also did the sides of the boards for the tabletop, so that way they butt up against each other nice and smooth. Since they're usually a rounded side, make them a little bit smoother, so that way they make one nice smooth surface. As well as even sanding everything on here. You don't want to get splinters when you're sitting down or when you're sitting at the table over the years to come, so make it smooth, and it was good. Next, it was just let's clean it off, right? Got the blower, got the brush there. As I'm doing both, you can see little puffs come up real quick, but get it nice and clean because next was staining. But before I did that, I did some wood conditioner to it. But I'll talk about the staining in a second because there are 1,001 options and some are better than others. But nevertheless, first step I did was do some conditioner. Help the stain and all that last longer, look better. And next was the staining part. Now, I did not like this stain that I used in the end, but also there's a lot of user error here, right? I was using this foam brush. I'd recommend using just a normal brush, a good brush really, so that way you don't get these smudges that I got. Also, it took forever. It was a very slow process, and in the end was not too happy with it. But you'll see. I'll talk about it in just a second. It looked okay, but it was like, nah, this is not the way to go. So stain, you can find a better one and it'll work well, but make sure you get a good stain and you apply it better than I did. It's been a day. They've dried. Not too happy with how they came out. Kind of see they're kind of splotchy, and yeah. So in the end, just gonna use some of this, some boiled linseed oil, and give it some color, but also just seal it from the weather. First though, can secure it to the table and then apply the oil. My dad always said, measure twice, cut once. So now I'm not really cutting in this particular situation, but get it at this point. I'm just measuring, make sure I'm getting it even on either side, so that way it's not lopsided and look all funky and not be as practical and usable. So here I'm marking where I'm going to drill because I got to put a hole in it, right? And got to find wherever your table is. I do it, mark it from underneath, drill the holes.
line them up, and then secure it with the bolts. I picked up some from Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you want, but they'll do. I countersunk them so that way they're beneath the surface. Make sure the surface is nice and smooth there on the tabletop. But Tesco, what was that? I don't know, but yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but you got it. And if you're not figuring it out without a video like me, then maybe it's a little faster for you. Yeah, I drilled those from beneath, didn't I? I can't remember why. Each table is different. You'll figure it out. But let's speed up this video so that way we can get to the next part.
These are the bolts and nuts that I'm using to secure it.
Next, you just do the same thing with the seats. I am using an impact wrench here, and then use a wrench or something to grab the nut underneath, so that way it just holds. It makes it go so much faster than trying to do it by hand. Plus, you can control it, and it helps it last for a long time and be nice and snug. But just secure those down, and you got yourself a table.
So here's where we're at. It is all secure. You see this one here. There's a little warped there at the end. Should have been a little bit more selective about the boards, but overall I'm okay with that. But here's the thing. Not really the most even. These two are closer. That's quite a difference. And you can also feel the difference, see the difference right there. So I'm gonna try to get some brackets underneath there to try to bring them a little bit more together, as well as sand the top a little bit, make it a little bit more smooth and even. For now, it's time to oil.
For this part, I use boiled linseed oil. Make sure you have water nearby, because this is going to take you some time, and you're going to be thirsty, especially if you're in the middle of, if you're in Texas and it's summer and it's hot. So anyway, I just got a cup. I used a paintbrush, and I did not use the sponge brush like I used earlier. So it goes on nice. It looks, you can already see initially, it's maybe not as clear to see in the video as it is in real life, IRL, right? But it's instantly gives it some color. And I did a couple of coats in the end because I wanted to last as long, 2 or 3 coats, and it helps the wood last a long time.
All right, all that's left to do is to smooth out these edges, level out these planks. I feel like it'd be better if they were together. So could throw some of these on there, and time will tell. But tell me what I should be doing down in the comments.
When it came to applying the brackets, I actually had both drills on hand, even though I used my impact drill to drill the hole, and then my normal drill to do the screw, which usually is the other way around. But the thing was, and in the end, I didn't even drill holes in all of them, because I was scared about splitting wood, right? It's soft wood, it's cheaper wood, and I want to split, and because I use kind of bigger screws, only 1.25 inches long or so, I think is what it was in the end, maybe 1 inch, 1.25 inches. I had a hodgepodge of screws. I'll show you in a second. But at this point, I am just marking where the holes are, and then just drilling in the screws, so that way it will be, it holds. Because one thing that's different about the table now is that I use 8-foot long boards instead of 6-foot long boards. And so because of that, it's overhanging by a fair bit on either side, right? So the brackets will help it. That way they don't torque as much and twist as much over time. Just hold them together, especially for the seats, even more so than for the table. But I did 2 on each side, so you do the math, 2, 4, 6, 8, yada yada, a lot, right? And 2 in the middle as well. It was worth it in the end. Months later, it's still holding, and they're doing a good job of holding them level, because otherwise, yeah, it will bend. But let's speed up, because you see what's going on here. You're picking up what I'm laying down, right? You get it. All right, do some super speed, and when you speed up life, you work really fast, I'm telling you. Put yourself on 15 times speed and you'll get this job done quick.
All right. So, much better. All the way across. Same on the benches as for the top. Still a little bit of a rise for some of it, but for the most part, very even. So now it's got to smooth out the edges.
It's the little things that make a big difference. And you really, even as I sat down on it, as I was testing it, I'm like, yeah, these are a little sharp. So I definitely recommend round out the edges of the seats and of the tabletop. Just go up, down, up, bring it down, bring it back up, and you'll smooth out that thing pretty quick. I think I still had 220 on at this point. Check it by hand, because hey, that's the whole point. If your hand, if you're gonna get splinters, then you got to keep sanding. But if your hand doesn't get splinters, then you're good to go. So sand it out the top, sand out again. Do those little things, and that'll really make your projects last longer and just be a better product or a better finish and result in the end. Next, just cleaning it off. Make sure that sand, refilling it. There's a couple other spots I had to touch up. So at this point, your table is ready. All I did was apply one more coat of boiled linseed oil. The more the merrier. I mean, you could apply too much, so just be careful when you don't do too much. It can get sticky and all that stuff, but make sure it's nice and clean, let it dry, and you got yourself a nice outdoor table.
And 9 months later, ta-da! What? Don't worry, it's been stained and worn by the weather, so if I'm honest. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with it. It's still solid, it works really well, it does exactly what you want it to do, as in you can sit on it and eat food, so it does its job. In hindsight, I would have done something different as far as to stain it and seal it, but let me know, what would you have done? What is a better, what is a good finish or whatever to put on for an outdoor table like this? Overall, happy and again, fully functional. I hope you find this helpful, and if so, let me know. But if you're taking on a project like this, just remember, you can do it.